Hi, I'm Ednoname from Boketto Complex and welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about my favorite Japanese chord progression. And as the title says, it's not the one you think. Gavin Leaper and Animais have some great videos about the most common Japanese chord progression we found in anime. I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you can check them out later. But now we're gonna talk about one that wasn't as common by the time I learned it as it is today. A little context. 7 or 8 years ago, I was watching Your Lie in April, and when the second ending came, I was blown away. It wasn't like anything I heard before, and I didn't really understand it back then. I learned the song, I learned the chords, but I didn't understand why those chords, why that progression works. So now we're here in the present, and now I understand the song, so I want to share with you why this song works, why it is so awesome, and why I love it so much. The song was Orange by 7up, and by that time I didn't know any song with that chord progression. Nowadays we have a lot and very popular songs. We have Mixed Nuts by HigeDan, the opening for the first season of Spy Family. We have Dekoboko by Kiyoe Yoshioka, the lead singer of Ikimonogatari, and the opening of A Couple of Cuckoos. And we have Monster by YOASOBI, the opening of the second season of Beastars. First, let's hear the chord progression so we can continue talking about it. We can separate this chord progression in 3 parts. The first, I like to call it the emotional roller coaster, because to me, it makes me feel like you go up, then you go down a little more to go up again. The second part usually is our typical anime chord progression, the one that gives you that very anime vibe. And the last part is the turnaround, a little section to take us back to the beginning of the chord progression. So now let's take a deep dive on every part. It can sound a little complicated, but stay with me because it's not that difficult as it sounds. So we begin with the emotional roller coaster part. This is the most important part of the chord progression. This is what gives us that very distinct feel that this chord progression has, that very beautiful feel. So it goes like this, in the key of G major. We begin in the first degree of the scale, G major. Then we go to the third degree of the scale, B, but in the typical major scale, we will have a B minor. Here we do a B7 chord. Then we resolve to the sixth degree of the scale, E minor. Then we go to the 5, that would be a D. But instead of D major, we're gonna do D minor. And we're gonna go back to G, but this time we're gonna make it G7. So that's the whole part. We are having 3 chords that don't usually go in the scale. We have B7 chord, the D minor chord, and the G7 chord. This part starts happy, then it gives us a push with that third major that resolves in our 6th minor. And when you think everything is good and we are resolved, it goes to that 5 minor, to that 1/7 that lifts us out again. So to understand this part, we have to talk a little about jazz.
You like jazz?
Because most of Japanese music, regardless of genre, it's very influenced by jazz music theory. So we're gonna talk about something called a secondary dominant. In music theory, a dominant chord, it's a chord that creates tension to resolve to our tonic chord or our home chord in a major scale that is the 5th degree of the scale. What would happen if we want to create that tension but to resolve to another degree of the scale instead of the first? That's when we use the secondary dominants. If we want to make a secondary dominant chord, we have to take the 5th degree of our target chord. In this case, we use E minor as our target chord, so we would need a B. And we create a 7th chord of that degree. In this case, it would be B7. Now, B7 wants to resolve on E minor. Just like D7 wants to resolve on the home key of G. If we would like to resolve to a C, we would need a G7 chord. We call these chords the 5th of the target chord. So in this example, if we want to name that B7, it would be the 5th of the 6th, as it is the 5th degree of our target chord, the 6th. We can use this with every degree of a scale. This is used to place emphasis on the target chord to make us feel like the song is resolving to that new chord instead of our home chord. So in this example, that 3 major would be the 5th of the 6th, and that 1/7 it would be the 5th of the 4th. Sometimes, if we want to put even more emphasis on the target chord, we could use something called a secondary second. This is taking the 2nd degree of our target chord and making it a minor chord if our target is a major chord, and a half diminished chord if our target is a minor chord. And we just put that right before our secondary dominant. This way we create a 2-5-1 chord progression relative to our target chord. The 2-5-1 chord progression is one of the most important concepts in jazz music. In this example, we use that 5th minor chord as a secondary second of the 4th chord. So now we have the explanation of the whole part of the emotional roller coaster. So we start on our home key, then we go to the 5th of the 6th to give us that emphasis that we're gonna land on the 6th chord, and then the new target chord becomes the 4th chord. So we use a secondary second and a secondary dominant to get us to that 4th chord. This is present exactly like that in the songs we talked about, except for Monster by YOASOBI, which makes one little change to the chord progression. Instead of starting on our 1 chord, Monster by YOASOBI starts on the 4th chord. So everything is the same except for the 1st chord. This exact chord progression we can find it in a song that recently became a meme, Just the Two of Us.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two.
Then we go to the 2nd part of our chord progression. That would be the anime chord progression. As we talked before, Gavin Leeper and Animais have some awesome videos going in detail about this chord progression. The anime chord progression is a 4, 5, 3, 6. This part usually goes very fast. In the previous part, we have 1 chord per bar, but in this part, we have 2 chords per bar. We can have variations on this part. In the case of mixed notes, they start on the 4th chord, then go to the 3rd, and then go to the 6th. And the last chord, they use another secondary second, a 2/7 chord, that would be a 5th of the 5th to take us to the next part, that would be the turnaround. The turnaround can be anything that gives us a feeling to go back to the start. The most common turnaround is the 2-5. We go to the 2, to the 5, back to the 1. This is very traditional in jazz music. We find it in a lot of jazz standards, but we can do another things. We can make a more rock-oriented turnaround. That would be something like going the 4 to the 5, as the case of YOASOBI. We can make the traditional 2-5 in the case of orange and mixed nuts. In the case of Dekoboko, we go to the 4th chord, to the 4th minor, to the 5th. All these songs have that structure, roller coaster, anime, turnaround. But in the case of Monster by YOASOBI, we also add a first part with that anime chord progression. So it goes anime, roller coaster, anime, turnaround. 雨上がりの空のような心が晴れるような君の笑顔を覚えている思い出して笑顔になる隠し事だらけ継ぎはぎだらけの本 You know噛み砕いてもなくならない本音が歯に挟まったまま運命を少しかじっただけなのにもう忙しい知らなかったそんな顔もするんだねもっと見たいな願う未来に何度でもすっと食らいつくこの間違いだらけの世界の中君には笑ってほしいからもう誰も傷つけない強く強くなりたいんだよ僕が僕でいられるように I hope this helps you identify that magical quality of this chord progression next time you hear it in an anime opening or ending. And I hope the explanation helped you understand where these chords come from and how you can use it in your own music. If you know another song with this chord progression, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know more songs. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider supporting us on Patreon so we can continue doing more videos like this. Leave me in the comments if there's any topic of anime music you would like me to cover next. If you got to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye!